For those of you who do not know me, my name is Dr. Victoria Sterkin. I am first and foremost Earthling, fellow Earthling. I am a behavior analyst. I'm a therapist and a therapeutic teacher. Some of you may know me from mycology psychology. I helped create that container, and since leaving that container, I've been inclined to create this one. And I don't know much about it yet. And as I know about it, you'll know about it. It's going to grow with us. But it is called the Infinity Container. And part of the reason why it is called that is some of the work that we're going to be doing together today. Can I get a show of hands for those of you who are here integrating some kind of psychedelic experience, whether that be a microdosing experience or a macrodosed experience, but if there's some psychedelic integration that you are here for, can I just see a little hand raised to something? Beautiful, beautiful. And for those of you who are here for a sense of community, just a general sense of connecting in community, can I get a show of hands? Beautiful, beautiful. You know, there is something about the word integration that's always been super intriguing to me, especially as we've been seeing it in pop culture. It's definitely been really associated with the psychedelic world. Mainly because when we embark on any kind of psychedelic journey, I'm just going to let someone in, we are moving through worlds. We're moving through realms. We're moving through an expanded state of consciousness where all of a sudden the world becomes bigger, maybe clearer, maybe more in depth. I have a friend in Spain who, when I gave him some microdose to try, he said, 4K all day. This is, wow, this is really coming to life. The world is coming to life. And whenever we experience anything, any kind of change, or whether we are trying to promote any kind of change, we are trying to weave things together, what we know, what was known, and maybe something that's a little more unknown, right? And that weaving is such an important part of the dragon energy that is all about this new year, this lunar new year. I have my friend Erica on this call. She gifted me some beautiful dragon books. I've been reading books that are a little, it's more on like the smut side of things, right? But it's
dragon
really
smut.
Dragon smut is so fun. But the magic of dragons and the world of dragons has been something that's been coming up. Another sister on this call with us was in a 5-MeO journey with me, and dragons entered into that journey. And it was such a powerful experience to feel into. This creature that represents the meandering between two worlds, right? The dragon represents this beautiful, giant, fire-breathing, powerful being that knows how to drift between the dead and the alive, the spiritual and the physical and the metaphysical, right? So the dragon energy really takes us into the in-betweens. And something else that feels really powerful and important to bring up today in talking about the in-betweens is the interstitial fluid. An organ that's a new organ. I'm like, how is this how did we not know about this until recently? That there is all of this fluid that gets to be an organ, right? We get to coalesce all of this fluid into something that holds the consciousness of connectivity of all parts of our bodies. It's the space where we get to travel in the in-betweens. It's a connective part of ourselves, the interstitial. I find that the interstitial has a lot of dragon energy. because it gets to weave between all of these different realms. And playing in that in between is something that is going to offer us an expanded state of presence, an infinite state of presence, even though we can never fully touch the infinite because it's infinite. Our consciousness won't allow it, but we could try and we can explore. And as we explore that infinite state, which sometimes a psychedelic experience helps us to do, sometimes a death helps us to do, sometimes the death of a part of us or a new birthing of something helps us to do, where we start to tune into a different part of the presence that we didn't have access to before. And I'm bringing this up in this call, and why it's so important is because when we have more access to presence, this prediction model that runs how we behave and exist in the world starts to get updated. And we stop running just on memory and reactivity. And we start finding more choice. And we start finding more interconnectivity so that there's less fragmentation between parts of ourselves and parts of ourselves, the extended self, us. So all of this feels really important to bring in because it is fragmentation that causes all disease, mental health issues, and other physiological disease that may come up in our lives. It all stems from a sense of fragmentation somewhere in the body or somewhere in the larger body. To give you a sense of the direction of this call today, I'm going to do just a little bit more talking at a certain point. I'm going to do a little bit of a reading. I'm going to ask that we all introduce ourselves, because as we are talking about the interstitial and as we are talking about integration, weaving, our voices need to be woven together. We will drop into a little bit of a somatic experience, an exercise to help us find that extended state of consciousness. And then we'll have some time for discussion. And if at any time you have to jump off, we so appreciate your energy being here at all. So before we go into any more of the teaching that feels really important and potent for today, I wanted us to think about a color, as my friend Lindsay has been talking about the power of color lately in our healing. I want you to think about a color that in this moment in your life feels like an extension of yourself. So just take a moment to close your eyes and allow a color to come into consciousness that feels like some extension of you. And feel into that color just for a moment. Beautiful. Now, as you open your eyes, keep that color in your heart. I've been reading this book, The Book by Alan Watts. It's been interesting. It was popping out of my bookshelf as the infinity container's been bubbling up in my body, and you could see the book was calling me for a reason. Kind of feels like a guidebook to whatever this is that's coming up and out in my consciousness. But there was a section that felt very important to read today, and if you wouldn't mind, I'm gonna do just that. So get comfortable and allow the listening ear to open. When this new sensation of self arises, it is at once exhilarating and a little disconcerting. It is like the moment when you first got the knack of swimming or riding a bicycle. There's the feeling that you are not doing it yourself, but that it is somehow happening on its own, and you wonder whether you will lose it, as indeed you may if you try forcibly to hold on to it. In immediate contrast to the old feeling, there is indeed a certain passivity to the sensation, as if you were a leaf blown by the wind, until you realize that you are both the leaf and the wind. The world outside your skin is just as much you as the world inside. They move together inseparably. And at first you feel a little out of control because the world outside is so much vaster than the world inside. Yet you soon discover that you're able to go ahead with ordinary activities, to work and make decisions as ever, though somehow this is less of a drag. Your body is no longer a corpse, which the ego has to animate and lug around. There's a feeling of the ground holding you up, and of hills lifting you when you climb them. Air breathes itself in and out of your lungs, and instead of looking and listening, light and sound come to you on their own. Eyes see and ears hear as wind blows and water flows. All space becomes your mind. Time carries you along like a river, but never flows out of the present. The more it goes, the more it stays, and you no longer have to fight or kill it. You know, our nervous systems are designed so intelligently that the body goes, you have to pay attention to this. You have to pay attention to this. This is important. Pay attention. And in that, we can get lost because paying attention to that sensation can be so painful or overwhelming. And it could feel like we're stuck, right? Oftentimes when dysregulation comes in, we feel stuck. I know the other day I ate some mushrooms, and there was a very intense feeling that came in. I was surprised by it. And I felt stuck. And then I said, remember to breathe, remember to breathe. And that felt like effort, right? And then I went into our field in the mud, and I just let my feet squish for a little while. And I paid attention to that sensation because that felt less effortful. And the sensation of the water and the mud between my toes was really cooling to the heat of the moment. And then it passed. And it's remembering we have these layers of earth, of life, of space to tune into. And that is an extension of us.